Right then, so moving on, let's actually start modelling a cake, shall we? So starting a new file, if you've got your old one open still, just press File, press New, press General, and bring it back to standard scene. We don't want nothing left from last video. All fresh. We no longer need the cube because we're making a cake, and the cake is round. So let's get rid of the cube. So remembering from last video, we'd like to add a new shape. So let's press Shift A to mesh. And this time we'll be adding a cylinder. Now, don't click anything else. When you've just done a forming action, come down to the bottom left, and you'll get this. If I accidentally click off this now and deselect, you see it goes. That's why you don't press anything. To bring it back up, we'll just delete that and add the cylinder back again. Now, loads and loads of edges here. And probably thinking, it doesn't look very, very smooth. And obviously you want the cakes quite perfectly round. What beginners' mistakes tend to make is that they want loads and loads of high resolution. So they think by doing that they'll just ramp it all the way up. And you really do not want that, because it makes it harder to work with each individual face. When it comes to editing each individual vertex, you're going to be there forever trying to edit it. So what people don't realise is that it's much easier to add more resolution than to take it away. We start off low, maybe not that low. I'll try 12. Yeah, 12. I'll through 12 for now. And you work your way up. Oh well, done with that now. We'll click off. Now, a little bit too tall for a cake. So, if you remember from last video, we're going to scale it down. But we don't want to scale it like that because we just want it to be shorter. Not smaller, shorter. So we go to the Z-axis and we bring that down. So about there. I'm happy with that. Now obviously it's still jagged, so one way to increase the resolution is to shade smooth. To do that, just click right click, press shade smooth, and it's smoothened it out. And if you see the outline still quite jagged, and the shadows, it's just not hitting it very well. So we'll keep that flat for the time being. There's another way to increase the resolution is to add the modifier. So if you go down to the right hand side of the menu and you press this modifier button right here, and we click add modifier, it says loads of different options, but we just want to go to generate. In generate, we go down to subdivision surface. And you're thinking, whoa, hold on a minute, what's happened here? Right then, so now we've come into our first problem, our first issue. Done this on purpose because quite simply that you'll come to these issues almost all the time. Nothing ever goes perfectly, is basically what I'm trying to tell you right now. There's always going to be little bits of mistakes going on. We just retrace our steps. And what the problem is at the moment, I'll show you. So if we now get rid of this, we go up here to the top left and go from object mode into edit mode. Obviously, with anything else in Blender, there is a hotkey for this. You just press tab and it'll take you in and out of object mode and edit mode. Anyway, so whilst we're in edit mode, as you can see here, it's now been dissected into 3 different things. So we've got vertices, which are these little dots here. If we go to this top menu, we press the next one over. Edges, which are these ones here. We go to the top, press faces, got faces. So it's been broken down into these individual faces, which are created by the vertices joined together. Obviously, 4 vertices joined together makes a face. Right, so anyways, moving on to what the problem was, is that we've not got enough horizontal edges. So it's kind of rounding it too much. So if you press Control R, see it's got this yellow outline. If I add one, and you can see this is moving, but we don't want to move it, so we just press Escape. It leaves it locked in the middle position. And now we add the modifier. It's a bit more flat in the middle, giving it more of like a cake look rather than it just looking like, oval shape. It's more of cake. And it's still not perfect. So we're going to remove that. Get rid of that by pressing Control C. Little horizontal edge all the way around, and then we press Control R again. And now this time, scroll up to increase the edges. I think 2 will be fine. And click, press Escape, another 2 edges. Go back to Add Modifier. Go down to Subdivision Surface. Right, so now let's talk more about Subdivision Surface. You come to the left, right hand side of the screen here, you've got the levels, viewport, and the render. So if you increase that, it increases the amount of faces. Shouldn't ever really need to go past 3 or 4. Personally, I just don't think you'd ever need more than that. But never ever go past 6. Because at that point, you're rendering too much face count. One's a bit too low, but basically to explain a bit more deeper, it just basically divides the faces, increases the amount of faces per face, so each individual face gets split. As you can see, it's split into 2, and that one's split into 4, so it increases exponentially. Nothing too is perfect. Obviously, they've got one for level viewport and one for render. If you increase the render one, you can see it's not effect until you press render image. And then it will increase, but we don't need to worry about that now. Thing 2 is suitable. Right then, moving on. Go ahead, edit mode just for now. A lot better. Talk about edit mode a little bit more. Obviously, the same rules apply when it comes to the movement, scale, and stuff like that of the vertices. You can move the vertices. Now that I've moved this all the way over here, if we go back into object mode, you see it's defaced it. There we go. Return back to normal with Control C. Same with the edges. First click an edge, I press G, can move that, can move it along the axes, can move it on all 3 different axes, but this is obviously relative to the world. And same again with the faces. Select a face, you can move it, and scale it, make it bigger. But all of this is not really necessary for the base. So obviously, as you can see, the faces are more, we've got a higher resolution and a higher poly count, but it's not really applied to the edit mode. You've still obviously got the original amount of shapes. We don't need to do any more editing for the base at this moment in time. So if we come down to this, we select object mode first. This one's there. And we come down to this little drop down menu right here, and we press apply. And we go back to the edit mode. You can see it's applied all of the poly count. The reason I've applied it now is the icing. When we do the icing, go back to object mode. We're going to need to pretty much retain the same shape on the top of it because it needs to sit on the top. So to save time and to not, sort of have to make the shape again, we're going to duplicate the shape. In order to do this, it's quite simple. You just press Shift D Obviously, if I move the cursor now, it's moving all over the place. But I just want to stay in the same place right now, so I press escape and they're on top of each other. Now, this is where we need to make sure we don't get things mixed up. So we need to name our different shapes, even though they look identical for the time being, we don't want to get mixed up, so we're going to rename. So selecting cylinder, I'm going to name this egg. I go then to cylinder 1, and this can be called icing. So now it's differentiated. So on the icing, I just want to move this up for now because we're going to do some editing with it. Move that up a bit more. And we don't need the whole of the shape, especially the bottom part when you're using the icing, because the bottom part's just going to be hidden away as it is. There's edit mode. We want to get rid of all of this bottom part here. Rather than need a fat part of it. I'm going to go right down the middle. And select all of this. As you can see, it's only selected one half. In order to make our lives a bit easier, not have to select each individual face. There's far too many here. We do that here all day. And obviously, like I just shown you, if we try to do it this way, only select what's facing your view. Quite silly, but we're not going to argue. So to make things a bit easier, if we come to the top right hand side, this is button right here, it says toggle X-ray. You can see through the entire shape, so make sure you can see what you're doing. I think this line here, we cut across the whole thing. So you can see that all of it is selected. Let's just make sure it's all selected by selecting the axes and redoing that. You press delete. You press faces. That's all gone in internal X-ray. And we can now go back to object mode and move this bit further down. As you can see, a little bit of crossover with the faces here. This is what's called Z fighting because they're kind of overlapping each other. They're both trying to show the faces at the same time, and causes a little bit of distortion. We don't want this. Let's just double check that that is perfectly sat on top. And to fix this problem, go back to modifiers, and this time we're going to add Solidify. And we're going to change the offset to 1, so it just pushes itself just in front of the cake. So the icing looks like now it's sitting on top. And it's sitting just on top, we can now change the thickness of Solidify. I don't think we're a crazy problem at the moment. I just want to leave it at 0.02. It's not that much of a problem. Problem is now though, if I go to edit mode, I can't see any of the faces. Even though they are being selected, as you can see. So, causing a little bit of problem. But we give solutions. If we press this, it hides it just whilst we're working on it. So the faces that I've selected. And then we can move on to the icing shape. Obviously, if you put icing on the cake and you just like drizzling it all over, like the cake that we're trying to make at the moment, as you can see, we want the icing to be dripping like in different places, and it's kind of got to have like a natural form. It's not sitting perfectly on top. It's a bit wavy. So, as you could have guessed, you can just straight up start moving some of these edges along the axes, or if you're just moving it like this. And the problem with doing stuff like that is that you kind of end up like that. And I press Solidify again. It's kind of creased itself in, so like some parts are less thick than others. that isn't what we're looking for. And if I carried on even further, sorry, if I just to edit mode and I press G, and I go like this, and I press this, it's now not even resting anymore. And it's only moving at one point, so yeah, it doesn't even look natural. There, and you are. So we can start by moving more points at once. And obviously, you could just click that, maybe that way, but it's just not very natural. And none of the other points are moving. You're just extending the edges. That's not really what we want. It's not very good. So if you come up here and you press Proportional Editing, and then I select this, and then press G. Oh, let's just, because it's a circle, it's kind of influencing all the vertices in that circle. So the problem with that is it's just far too big. It's influencing too many vertices, as you can see. So if you go back and zoom back more in, press G again, then we can scroll up to shrink the area of influence. As you can see here, looks much better. It looks, if I was to, try and smooth and a little bit more tweaking, it look nice. And better. As you can see, we've encountered another problem. It stretched itself through the face, and the cake face is sticking out of the icing. Solidify to solve that problem, but another issue being the icing is now no longer resting on the cake. If you pour icing on the cake, it's not just going to start floating off the cake now, is it? It's going to be stuck to the surface because that's how liquid moves. It like sticks to the surface that it's like moving across. So, and solve this problem, we go into edit mode and we just undo all this. Do all this work. Very good anyway. Turn on snapping. And what snapping does, you can move it like in the real world. Here by grid. It moves across the 3D world grid on the floor, as you can see. It's not what we want. We want it to ice project. So what this does is it glues itself, essentially glues itself to the cake, sorry. So now if I do this and I move down, I now go back to object mode and say it's, I turn on this just to help you notice, it's now stuck to the surface of the cake, which is what we want. So that's perfect now. Everything's in place. We go back to edit mode and then we can start making things. Just turn that off, looking a bit more wavy. Just move it down. Change areas of influence and make them smaller. Make them bigger. Really just make it nice, wavy icing. Don't go too low. Just a little bit wavy. Let's work on this. The new side by side. Going all the way around the other side just to get it a bit more. A bit more of a natural look. That's all this is doing. Obviously, some parts of the icing are going to be thicker than others, so that should be all good. Don't worry about this overlapping here. The Solidify should fix things straight away. Be much better. It's a bit more like a cake. Even if you shade smooth this now, it sits very, very nicely. Look at that. Much better. Much better indeed. Last thing that I'll show you before we call it a day. Go to File. I'm just going to show you how to save it. We get to File. We get to Save As. It'll bring up a menu which you've clicked on here. Put it in any folder that you like. Or I always like to make a nice personal portfolio full of all my work. And put make a folder just for the cake. So when it comes to rendering, you'll have loads of different add-ons for it. So I put it in there. It's just one file, but it saves as a .blend file, so it's called it cake and .blend, and save it in there. And then when you reopen it, nothing will have changed. It would have saved all your progress, and that would be perfect. So that's it. If you made it this far, then well done. Keep up the good work for part 3, and we'll have a cake in no time.